Have you ever heard the phrase, your network is your net worth? It is a saying that took a long time for me to truly understand. I don't know if it was because I've always been a natural networker or if I hadn't really stuck in the same industry long enough to really monetize it. I don't think I truly grasped the value until I decided to burn my creative agency to the ground and start all over. That's when my network became more valuable than anything else in my life. So, the one secret I feel I've uncovered over the years is that you can know a lot of great people and connect even more and still have a bad network. So, how do we make the most of it? And how the heck do we do it in a post COVID era where everything has moved on? That's what we're going to talk about today. And to help me uncover some networking secrets is Sara Alepin, a master connector. She is so good at it, she turned it into a business with the District Bliss community. So she knows a few things about monetizing your network. So let's dive in and welcome to the show, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a delight to be here.
Appreciate you taking some time out and helping our audience to understand how to monetize their network. And
Yeah.
and a lot of people ask, like, I was just on the phone the other day with a friend of mine. He's a marketer as well, and we've known each other for now almost 20 years. And he just, Buzz, what's 2023? What's the best thing? And I'm sitting there going, joint ventures, right? And I've been really in depth in finding people I can work with, finding people I can refer to on a regular basis, finding people that I can collaborate with. You can't find those without networking. And so when I made that decision, it was like, oh man, my network, it's actually worth so many different things besides just getting clients, finding partners, finding resources, all these things. What other things that I feel that's why networking is important to me? Why do you think networking is so important?
Well, a lot of people get stuck in that trap that you were alluding to, Buzz, which is the like, I'm networking so I can get clients, and I'm going to go to this event and I'm going to meet people virtually or in person, and I'm going to give them my business card, and then they're going to hire me to replace windows or do their marketing or photograph their event or whatever it may be. But the real beauty of networking is that as you network, you are actually growing the web bigger and bigger. If you think of it like you meet one person and then you find a way to have a joint venture, which might be that you lead a workshop or you introduce them to a podcast guest, and then you're growing it out from there like a tree. It's like a family tree in a way that we used to
I
build
love
in
it.
elementary school. And that way, you're actually building the people that you are in front of on a regular basis and increasing your visibility so much more than you would be if you were just getting one client. And the off chance
Mm.
that you actually meet that one client at the networking event isn't generally the most likely bit, right? It's that they then can connect you with more people and you can use their audience to scale your business and increase your visibility. And that's the bigger piece. We're going to be talking a lot about relationship building today.
Yeah, hearing you talk about the leveraging of it's not scalable to network one to one to try to get one client. And I see it. So I was really involved in the Chamber of Commerce when I first got into business, right? And you go to the networking events, and I studied networking, like how do you successfully network and all those things. And so you could read about them. And one of the tactics they use was like picking three. If you think about that and you're coming in with the mindset you were talking about, Sarah, and you're like one to one, that means that in a 2 hour period, I'm going to only going to really be able to connect with three people really well. And if I'm looking at it at a one to one ratio of as far as output goes, and I have about a 30% chance of doing business with any of them, that means I spent 2 hours to get one client. And if you're a
Yeah.
transactional client, so like you don't have reoccurring revenue going on, that's a big investment for a one-off transaction, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
I love the
crazy.
fact that you're talking about that leveraging of, and how do you get yourself into situations where you're talking one to many, and that's where that web comes in because it's right. They say, oh, this person knows this many other people, or in Facebook where it's this is a friend. There's your friend suggestion, and they know 5 million of your friends.
Yep.
It's like, I like it the other way around, where it's like LinkedIn's like they know a bunch of people you don't know. And
Yeah.
if you guys engage, they're going to get in front of your name's getting in front of them because you guys are engaging. I love that part right there. So where do you think people really, I mean, besides the one-to-one part, where do you see people really make the biggest mistake in networking?
Good question. Because I actually think you learn the most from the mistakes in networking. And there are two. Can I hit two? Because they're my
Oh,
favorites.
100%.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. So the first one is talking about yourself, like spending the entire time saying, here's my elevator pitch. Here
Oh, I
are
love
the
it.
things I'm looking for. Here are the things I offer. And here are the things like I want you to do for me. Instead, try asking the other person about themselves, which then alleviates some of that anxiety that you go into network because we all have a little anxiety going into networking, let's be honest. But
I always
ask
bring
them.
somebody with me. I always, do
Yeah.
you ever do that? Like I always bring somebody with me, and at the front door when after we get our name tags, whoosh, we don't see each other until the end where we come back together.
It dissipates some of that anxiety because it's just there's something about that word that is anxiety provoking. So you got to find the right space where you feel comfortable anyway. But asking questions about the other person takes the pressure off you having to talk about yourself. You naturally will talk about your. So this is not to say don't talk about yourself. This is to say like you will naturally be asked by the other person when you are generous and ask about them because again, think of it like relationship building, friendship building, dating. You wouldn't go in and say, these are all the things about me, and then expect that person's going to give you a second date or want to get coffee with you in the future or hang out. Nobody wants to listen to you talk about yourself. They want to talk about themselves. So
Yes, we are the most interesting person to in the world is ourselves.
So it's actually like I'm starting to my little inner ticker is going off like you're talking too much, Sarah. You're talking too much now, and I'm being interviewed. Stop it.
No, that's it's good though. I think that I think that lends to the reason we're networking. So it's like I focus on service-based businesses, right? So that's who I work with and my marketing. And one of the things that I always tell people is your business serves a purpose. You're either solving a problem or helping somebody attain a dream. It's the only two things a service does. Okay. And so if you can lead in and just listen to what's going on with them, ask them leading questions into what's going on with them in their lives, whether if you're B2B, what's going on with your business, how's your industry doing, what's your biggest challenges, right? If you're B2C, you're doing it at a personal level, and you just listen. You might not be the person they need right now, but if you can connect them with a solution of somebody you already know, which is where the network comes in net worth, right? You have now successfully networked because now you are a go-to person for answers. I think that's is
Yes.
that is that's where
Yes.
you're with the number one. Listen to them,
100%.
solve a problem for them.
Yes, because also that is how you screen whether they're a good fit for you, whether or not they need your service. Because you don't want to, even if they're going to buy from you, you don't want to sell your service or your product to someone who doesn't need it. If you're selling, I don't know, sunscreen to someone who lives in the
In
Faroe
Fairbanks
Islands.
in the middle of January.
Like that, you just may not have a need right now, but that doesn't mean they won't go to the Maldives in a couple months.
Right. Yeah. No, I always tell people like only 5% of the people you talk to that are actually qualified even are in the market for your service right this second.
Yes.
And that's that patience. And what is your sales cycle? Some people's sales cycles are as long as 10 years.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? So it's like who you talk to today. I had one person that I networked with 7 years later reach out to me. Hey, Buzz, I don't know if you remember me. And I actually happened to remember him. So I was like, yeah, you're XYZ. And he's, yeah, how did you remember that? I said, I have no idea. But what's up? And he's, remember when I said this about 7 years ago? I'm finally ready to do it. I'm like, sounds great. Let's go.
It's perfect. I mean, and it's effortless in that way. I don't believe that there is necessarily passive income, but that is as close to passive income as you're getting. It because you didn't have to go out and sell to that person. And how great is that? That's the
Yeah.
best.
So we're talking about, you said you had number two. What was your number
Yes.
two?
Okay, so the number 2 is follow up and nurture. So whether
Mhm.
that be to connect someone with a someone who could solve the problem that they have right now, someone you think they might have a good lead gen with, someone who you just really love their newsletter and you think that person would benefit from the content they share every month.
Mhm.
However that goes, like nurture that connection and follow up. And if you don't hear back, we lose stuff in our inboxes all the time. We're busy. When we've scaled, we're super busy in terms of we delegate a lot of things, but usually that also means someone else is managing my inbox every day. It gets filed, and I don't always see it unless it's in like the top 7, and it might take me a week or 2.
Right.
Follow up. Don't feel like you're bothering me to follow up, or don't feel like you're
Mhm.
bothering Buzz to follow up. It's we appreciate it because we actually care that you care to have a conversation with us.
Exactly, and as long as you're following up without it being a sales call.
Yeah,
Like, really, one of the tricks I used to do, we're talking face to face, so I would write notes on the back. So I'd get their business card. I wouldn't write anything in front of them, but when I left them, I would go find a space where I could download my thoughts on the back of their business cards. So that way, when later on when I'm following up, I have maybe something that I picked up about their personal lives, maybe a hobby, who they like in football, if it's football season or whatever that looked like. I have that connector and I have something later on that I can use to reconnect. And
brilliant.
but I think that what you're talking about in that follow up, right? So many people don't realize that most salespeople, regardless of whether they're networking or selling, give up within 3 tries. And the studies show that it's the people who never stop following up that get the most, right? And sometimes it takes up to 7 times. And in this day and age, digitally could take up to 16 touches for somebody to come around. So you have to craft that and make sure you're not being annoying, but you still are following up and you don't give up, especially if you can find ways to give every time. So it's not just
Exactly.
checking in. Don't just check in. I'm checking in, Sarah. We met at such and I'm just checking in. No. Hey, Sarah, I had a really good conversation with. It's awesome that you're a Bengals fan too. I'm a lifetime Bengals fan. Hey, did you like that game last week? I'd love to compare notes of how we just destroyed the Buffalo Bills, right? Something like that where you're like you're not selling anything. You're just connecting as a human being, right? So with that said, though, how do we do that online? How do we successfully network online?
So the first thing is turn your video on and get and acknowledge the fact that every single event you attend is a networking opportunity. So if you're going to a summit or you're attending even just something in like a Facebook group, the people that are showing up to something that's a course or educational bit, they are the same, they have the same problem you have. Or if you are showing up because you know the solution, you may be the solution for that person's problem. Like treating every if you went to a workshop or a conference in real life, you would take
Mhm.
business cards. You would be prepared
Mhm.
to meet those people. You would make the effort. So show up on video. Ask questions of the person that is hosting the summit or the conference or the workshop, whatever the networking opportunity is. Ask questions. Have your name show up like you would at anything in real life as well, which
Right.
can be scary. And especially if not, if the audience is crickets and you're like the only one asking questions, that can be a little bit
I
intimidating.
love it.
But
I love it
do
when I'm the only one asking questions because that means I'm the only one they're gonna remember. It's a beautiful thing.
and everyone remembers you, not just the host. That's the great thing. And then have your digital business card, however that may
Mhm.
look. And most people in this day and age are networking on Zoom when you're doing it
Mhm.
online. Um, Make sure you have a Google Doc that has your links to your website, link to your social
Mm.
media, your name, your business,
Oh,
your
I love
elevator
that.
pitch or
Mm.
description of what your business actually is, unless it's
Mm.
very clear from your name. It is not super clear from District Bliss, so I usually drop in
More
not my
information there.
Yep, exactly. Make sure you have all of that ready to go. And the reason I say Google Doc is because if you have an issue with your internet and you have to use your phone, you got to be able to access it still. And
Exactly.
that's not to say you just drop that stuff willy-nilly. You wait for the person that is the organizer to welcome you to drop whatever applicable information you can, but then save that chat so that you can
Mm.
follow up with people and don't ever add them to your email list without their
Mm.
permission. That is
Mhm.
huge pet peeve of mine. When I find out people have done that at District Bliss at one of our networking events, I get
Mm.
so annoyed because you didn't ask and you
Right.
can't just pull people's email and put it on the list. But That's my
especially if
little
you're in
soapbox.
California.
Yeah, it's also illegal, but that's its
Yeah.
own little
In some
thing.
states, not in all
Yeah,
states. Not in
yeah,
all states yet, but
and
GDPR is
countries.
definitely something you have to worry about. And if you're in European countries, you definitely have to worry about that. And it's just bad form, really,
Yeah,
if you think about it. It's
yeah.
just there's ways that there are ways that some people have automated their conversations as long as you're making it super easy for them, do a double opt in. If at worst, like you just have an auto follow up system because you network with so many people and you're just like, hey, listen, sorry, I need you to put you into the sequence here. Be upfront with it. And here's an subscribe button at the top. That's one way around that, as long as you're not in one of the states that outlaws it to where you literally have to opt in. So the other way to do that is to send them a single email with the opt in link that then takes them to it tells them which email, because I have multiple emails and I don't take my automated email in some of my inboxes. So I'll unsubscribe. And they're like, why did you unsubscribe? Because you're sending it to the wrong place, those types of things. So I think these are all great pointers to both offline and online. And I think that your network needs to span between the two. You would agree with that, I'm
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
So, what's the most important networking practice we can start implementing this week to help us grow our net worth through our network?
Start from a place of generosity. So start thinking about the people who are in your network that would benefit from knowing other people in your network. And then start connecting them because there is nothing that we enjoy more. Buzz, if I were to connect you with someone that I think would be a great guest on this show, you're like, awesome. I don't even have to screen that person. I know Sarah really cares about, she gets my vision, she understands, and she's here for it. She wants me to have a good show. And so if you stand in that space of generosity and really caring about the other business owner, and then start going through and thinking about, I do have a couple people who are interested in marketing. They've recently written books and they're going on like trying to figure out how to even incorporate that in. I might be like, hey, Buzz, I know you wrote a book. I have a friend that wrote this. They are actually in need of marketing. I feel like you have experience in this and you would maybe potentially be a great, this could be a good client for you, or it could just be a really good friend that you two get to talk about business stuff and help each other be better business people just from knowing each other. So my assignment to you all as a recovering teacher is to find 3 people that you can connect with, 3 other people this week and connect them and then set up a time that you can catch up with them and find out how they're doing and really nurture those connections because you will stay top of mind. And then from there, you can start building out joint ventures and collaborative events and things that will increase your visibility beyond that.
And there you go. That's the mic drop moment. Good job.